The Reiki master slash medium. Describe, papi, yeah. Hey everybody. Oh shit, I need lipstick. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Victoria. If y'all new here, please hit that subscribe button below. Let's get into this video. So today I decided to do something a little bit different. Yes, we are going to dive into the paranormal world once again, and I'm going to read your paranormal stories that you guys shared with me on Reddit. So for the first story that I'm going to read is from Reddit user BokoBlindman2, and the title of his story is called Shadow Stalker. I have recently gone back to school and now I'm being chased by this weird shadow thing. Did not think twice about posting for help, so I basically have had a feeling of being watched. Feel breathing and I hear it too, and see a shadow looming over me sometimes. There's nobody behind me ever. Today I heard from it for the first time and it said, "Ready to commence," in that quiet kind of way. This thing has been living with me for quite some time and might be connected to the things in my room being possessed. If you can help me determine what I should do, leave it, get rid of it, talk to it somehow, please help. So if you guys have any type of suggestions or any help that you want to give Reddit user BokoBlindman2, then I'm going to link that story down below if you guys have any suggestions. So this next story that I'm about to read to you guys is from Reddit user Reveries Phoenix 77, and her title is called My Experience Living on Evil Land. This is my first time ever posting on Reddit, so please forgive me if I messed up any rules. Alright, you're forgiven. It began in summer of 2013 when I got a divorce and had to move out of my home in the suburbs of Southern California. I met someone, my current husband, pretty soon after the divorce, and things moved pretty quickly, and he asked me to move in with him, which I accepted. He had just bought his dream cabin on a local mountain range with an inheritance he received. We are in Southern California and the mountain and lake are popular tourist destinations. At the time, I was struggling a lot. I had to quit my job teaching due to severe stress and had lost a substantial amount of weight and was barely 100 pounds. Looking back, I was probably an easy target due to my vulnerable state. We moved that winter just in time for me to vacate my previous home I had once shared with my ex. It had just stormed and there was ice and snow on the ground. The new house was really dark and just felt sad to me, especially on cold, snowy days. But it was a beautiful cabin that was on a long private dirt road in the woods. The house was a larger chalet style home with dark wood beams, brick and wood walls, and a big old wood burning stove. Shortly after moving in, we found out that the lady that previously owned it was hit by a drunk driver and had to move into a care facility for the severely impaired, which kind of creeped us out a bit. Boo-boo. I think that would kind of creep me out too. I immediately realized that I didn't quite like living in the mountains. The people in the town, especially our handful of neighbors, were really strange, paranoid, and rough. There was just a negative energy there, especially in certain parts of the mountain. I was so in love with my then boyfriend, though, that I wanted to make him happy and knew how much he loved it there, so I didn't say anything at first. The first time I noticed the negative energy was about a week after we moved in. We went for a hike towards early evening. We wanted to explore the miles of wilderness behind our home and were excited. As we walked further along, we saw old abandoned ranches and log cabins. There was even one area that had some evidence of witchcraft. There were many local legends of a satanic cult that referred to themselves as goat men. As we walked into a thickly wooded area, all the hair on my body suddenly stood up and I noticed an electric charge in the atmosphere along with noticeable deafening silence. I tried to ignore this creepy feeling and kept walking. A few minutes later, my husband stopped in front of me and said he had just realized we weren't on the trail anymore. We looked back and sure enough, there was no trail in sight. The sun was now setting and the scenery was disorienting. After about an hour of trying to find our way home, I started to cry. It felt like we were going in circles and I was sure we'd end up missing people, but luckily we found a trail that led us back home. I think that this was a day something from the land attached itself to me. Soon after the incident in the woods, I started to feel oppressed by something very dark. I started doing things that are really out of character, like binge drinking and picking fights. I would almost go into a trance, and from what my husband tells me, I'd run out in the forest and disappear for hours during fights, even late at night. I have no recollection of this. I only remember standing in front of our house late at night with a cut up bare feet and being confused and disoriented. My husband would be upset and tell me he had been frantically looking for me for hours, but it never seemed to me as if any time had passed. I got a job working at a local church camp. I'm not super religious, but jobs up there are scarce. I noticed that the only time I felt semi-normal was while I was at work. I felt like I was having some kind of internal battle between good and evil. Well, I spiraled down at home. I got diagnosed with a severe illness that no doctor could really explain. I was constantly in the hospital and was put on a heavy narcotic, which only aggravated my spiral downward. We seem to have really bad luck too. For instance, one time my husband was driving in a really remote part of the mountain when his car broke down. So I jumped in my car to go pick him up when suddenly my car blew a gasket clear through the hood, which no mechanic had ever seen or could even explain. I had to hitchhike to where my husband was, and we had to tow both cars. My husband's car had absolutely nothing wrong with it and worked just fine after we towed it, bless you. Yet it would always break down periodically, and always in a remote part of town with no cell service. We lived way off the beaten path deep in the woods. Something always seemed to go really wrong. Just before things would go wrong, I'd get that creepy feeling where my hair stood up and feeling of electricity in the atmosphere. As things progressed, one day after drinking and taking pills, I remember feeling pulled out into the forest. I went stumbling through the woods, sobbing and having an overwhelming urge to just kill myself. I kept thinking that was the only way out. This was a common thing I started doing, and it was as if I was in some kind of trance. I remember constantly feeling paralyzed with fear, sorrow, and despair. I began to feel like my true self was gone and I couldn't get to her. I began to feel numb. Regardless of how much I was unraveling at home, I was still functional at work and even managed to get a few promotions. It felt like I had two personalities at first. Around this time, weird things started to happen around the house. It would start with the electrical feeling goosebumps, and then bam! All the lights and ceiling fans would turn on full blast, all on their own. I'd come home from work and think someone was in our home because all the lights would be on. One time I was sleeping and I could hear the remote control button for the fan speed clicking on, and bam! All the lights and fans turned on. I would get out of bed and yell, "Stop it!" and hide the remotes from the fans and TV. It started taunting me. It would turn on all the electronics late at night. If I laid down for a nap or any time I was laying in my room feeling depressed, it was like it knew that it pushed me over the edge. Around this time, we felt an oppressive presence and like it was watching us sleep. It was then... Papi, can you go over there, please? Please? Go over there. Thank you, baby. Kids. A small wooden door in our bedroom that led to the attic, and one night I had a nightmare that felt incredibly real of watching myself sleep from a different angle in the room when a pure black demon with tight black shiny skin, red eyes, and a goat looking head and giant horns came out of that door and was crouched down watching me sleep by my bedside while breathing what looked like smoke down around my body. As it stood up and reached for me with its long pointy fingers, I suddenly woke up choking and in a panic. I looked over and the attic door was open. Now, that door was extremely hard to open and you had to really tug at it due to it not fitting quite right and rubbing against the door frame. We always left it shut because it was cold, creepy, and drafty up there. Terrifying. After that, I dreaded going to sleep and would often stay up all night drinking and descending into madness. No matter where I was, I always had the sensation of being watched, but I was too afraid to sleep, especially in our room. When all the electronics would turn on or when I'd get goosebumps, I knew the demon was near. It really scared me that I couldn't see it, but I knew what it looked like and I could feel its presence. Sorry guys, I had to replace the battery because the camera died. Anyways, where were we? Yes, the story. Things at work eventually even got weird too, and I could barely function. It felt like I was hanging on by a thread. I was an emotional, suicidal wreck and in heavy counseling, drinking heavily and popping pills. My relationship was on the rocks and I had become a regular at the bar and liquor stores. I was completely out of control and was beginning to get evil, intrusive thoughts. One night I was in a rage and I picked a fight with my husband. I don't remember it, but the next day when I was begging him for forgiveness after he threatened to leave, he told me I didn't even look like myself, and that my eyes and face looked dark and evil the previous night while we argued. Then he told me I had shoved and hit him, and my heart broke into a million pieces. I'm not an angry, violent person at all normally. That broke me. I could have stopped acting that way though. No matter how hard I tried, I hated myself. One night I got a call from a friend from my hometown who also happens to have abilities. She told me that the land there was bad and that she won't go up there to visit me and that I should consider moving home. She had a friend that also had moved up there after a divorce and experienced a similar oppression and fled the home in the middle of the night, taking only her animals. She had seen something that she refuses to talk about. It clicked right then. Whatever was up there was evil and was affecting me deeply. I broke down and begged my husband to leave. He's the type to do anything for me, so we both started job hunting in the town we wanted to move to, and he listed the house for sale. The second I got hired, I threw some clothes and my dog in the car and never looked back once. Luckily, our home sold pretty quickly because we priced it to sell ASAP. The dread slowly lifted as I made my way down the mountain and back into the city, and I felt like I could breathe. I remember thinking how dark it always felt up there with all the trees. It felt suffocating. Within a month of moving away, I started to feel back to normal. At first, there was still some activity like the demonic dreams and one time being woken up by something that felt like a pillow, hitting me with a crazy force across the face. About a month after moving, I decided to have a cleansing done by a Reiki master and a psychic medium. I was stunned and terrified when the Reiki master slash medium described When the Reiki master slash medium described my evil attachment in detail just as I saw it, and even shook her to the core and scared her frankly. It wasn't easy to remove, but moving away and abstaining from taking any substances had weakened its grasp significantly. It mostly stopped after the healing sessions, prayer, and self-protection exercises, and I completely lost any desire to drink and switched my medications to a non-narcotic. I've never been a drinker and to this day have on average 1 or 2 beers a year. My personality went back to happy, loving self. The thoughts of suicide seem like a bizarre memory. My marriage is solid and we are like any normal boring couple. A few months after moving, we did receive a call from the couple who bought our house asking if we've ever noticed anything weird or demonic activity in the home. They kind of just made a joke like, haha, never mind, we'll just stick to our plan and get an exorcism done. I felt like there was really no point in telling them as it was never the home, it was the land. It was like a horrible nightmare that creeps me out just telling my story. I even avoid talking about it or thinking about it due to weird feelings it gives me. I feel like part of my soul is gone forever. I can never take back what I put my poor husband through. I'll never view things the same. I know there was real evil out there and it wanted my soul. I'm glad if you are the one who told the story and you are watching this video. I'm so happy and I'm so glad that you were able to cleanse yourself and cleanse your own spirit to no longer have those feelings or that hold that whatever it was had over you, or have that hold that whatever it was had over you. So the next story that I'm going to read to you guys is titled Some of the Things Happening in My Apartment by Reddit user Miss Nun Chaku. Hello, my name is Kate and I'm a 19-year-old female. I've been living with my boyfriend since late December of this year after his father died. My boyfriend's father was his hero, got him in a straightened arrow. Unfortunately, on December 8th, his father had a massive heart attack and died on the scene. Now onto the experiences I've had in our studio apartment and one experience at my boyfriend's childhood home. 1. The day after the passing, I packed up a small bag and went to stay with my boyfriend and his stepmom to help them cook, clean the house, feed the pets, and get things ready for the small memorial party after the services. I was cooking breakfast for them and I poked my head out of the kitchen to ask how they wanted their eggs. I felt something hit me on the top of the head. I look over next to me and the package of paper towels that were sitting on top of the fridge had fallen somehow, even though they were in a little basket. 2. I had painted on some canvases for my boyfriend's apartment. He hung up a painting I had done of Frankenstein's monster in the kitchen, next to the cooktops. We had a light frame made for it and a thumbtack held it to the wall. One night while we were asleep, we both heard a loud thud. I woke him up frantically, asking him if he had heard it too. He got out of bed, flicked on the light, and saw my painting on the kitchen floor lying there. It was completely out of the frame. It was staple gun too, and the thumbtack was broken in half and sticking out of the wall. 3. Due to COVID, I work from home and my boyfriend works limited hours at his job. I'm home alone about 10:30 to 6 o'clock every day. I'm sitting and doing my work and I could swear to God I heard the sound of something frying in oil in the kitchen. I got up and checked if I had left the stove on. I didn't. I could still hear the popping noises of frying food, and it was loud as soon as I got over to the stove. I moved the pan to put it away and the noise stopped as soon as it came. I hear this frying noise some days a few minutes before my break for lunch at 1 p.m. 4. This experience is not at the apartment or the childhood home, but it is relevant. I went to my mom's place to stop home and get some things. My boyfriend was out getting some food. Me and my mom started to talk about the falling out between us and the stepmom. I'm telling her about the abuse that my boyfriend's father had to put up with and that I only knew about after his death. One time, the stepmom and my boyfriend's dad were vacationing together down in Louisiana. They get into an argument and she scratches his face with her nails, making him bleed. She steals his keys, wallet, and phone and kicks him out of the hotel. He had to call my boyfriend on a payphone to ask for his card number so he could order a plane ticket home. Anyways, I was telling my mom of this very incident. Then we heard a thud and something skidding on our wood floor. I got into the hallway and see one of the pictures is gone and it's on the playroom floor, off of its hook, having gone at least 5 or 6 feet from its original hook. I call my mom over to show her and she freaks out a little bit. She's a devout Catholic, and she has had a lot of strange things happen in my childhood home after her brother died. But to quote her, nothing this aggressive. To clarify, I started to date my boyfriend in early October and had only met his dad a few times. Sweetheart of a man, loved my art, loved me. Told me and his son that we are perfect together and was a welcoming person. My boyfriend told me that he would have loved for me to meet his dad more because he really did like me as a person. So I'm just wondering what this could be. Is it my boyfriend's dad, another one of our family members, or something that attached itself to my boyfriend or me while we were grieving, feeding off our self-destructive behavior and stupid choices? I don't know myself, so I'm just asking for advice on what to possibly do if things get worse. If you guys have any type of advice that you can give Miss Nunchaku, go ahead and leave it down in the comments below and I'll be sure to share that with them. So that's all that I have for you guys for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and kind of got a little spooked out. I did read 3 Reddit stories. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!